Hey yarn friends! How are you today? My name is Michelle. Welcome to my YarnFurBrains channel. Today I'm going to share with you some things that I wish I would have learned sooner along my crochet journey, mistakes that I've made, how I've corrected them, and at the end of the video I'll show you a few things I've been working on. Mistakes that I made I want to go over with you. Some of them are small details and some of them are rather large. Hopefully will save you some energy and frustration. The first biggest mistake that I made, and I mean big mistake, how big you ask? I will show you how big. The first afghan that I made not only is this afghan in very dark colors, it's extremely large. What I didn't know was how to actually do a double crochet correctly. I actually did that entire blanket in extended double crochet not even knowing it. I used a dark yarn. I didn't understand the stitch and I did not even have a pattern. I just chained as far as I could reach, which was that long. This was actually amazing that I even completed that afghan. I am proud of myself for doing that, especially as a beginner, but I really learned a lot from it, and so I just thought I would pass those along. This leads me into the second largest mistake, and that is not planning my projects intentionally. Choosing a pattern and purchasing the yarn intentionally. I just got caught up in buying one skein of yarn here and there, or several different types of yarns, or several different colors or brands, just because I wanted to try it to see if I liked it. I like all the yarns, what can I say? So that's not really an issue. The issue is now that I want to purchase yarns where I have enough of one type or color for the project that I am making, and I feel like this will lead to a happier outcome. And of course, this is something that can save time and money and energy as well. Another really big mistake that I made had to do with blocking a project. I made some really gorgeous African flower hexagons. I was so happy with how they turned out. So I thought that I would just totally put icing on the cake and block them like you're supposed to. So I thought, well, I have this nice giant bowl. I dunked them in, completely submerged all of my hexagons in that water. And then I set up my foam blocking pads and put them all in perfectly. Then I waited for them to dry. I had squeegeed them out a little bit, but maybe not enough. Days went by, like 3 to 4 days. They were finally dry, and I noticed that there was a musty smell coming from the area. So I turned my beautiful motifs into stinky little motifs. These were made with 100% acrylic. There are a few different methods to block, and what I realized is that you should actually probably steam block acrylic yarn. The method that you choose will depend on what type of material your yarn actually is. So if you're gonna block a project, make sure that you're choosing the correct method of blocking and follow the instructions. So after learning some basic stitches, of course, slip knot, which I tend to call slip stitch in my videos. I'm really sorry about that. I know it's called a slip knot, but slip knot, chain. Of course, you're going to learn to single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet. I would say those are your basic stitches to really get going with crochet. However, I realized that learning just some basic shapes, of course, like a granny square, a flat circle, those two were the first two basic shapes that I learned to make, and you can do so much with those. And then I kind of overlooked the fact that I could learn how to do a rectangle, a triangle, and the hexagon. I really wish I would have paid attention to those basic shapes sooner, just because you can do so much. With a rectangle, you can make cardigans, you can make afghans, you can make so many things. And the hexagons, oh, those hexagon afghans I'm loving. And of course, the hexagon cardigans that have been so popular lately, those have been super fun. I did make a tutorial for these hexagons as well. I'll be sure to leave that in the description. This is an infinity granny square. When I got done with the square, I realized that I wished it was a rectangle. So on the top and the bottom, I added some rows and turned it into a rectangle. So it totally worked, and I love how it turned out. But that was the moment that I was like, why didn't I just make this a rectangle to begin with? But these are, I love this yarn, some prints. I want to say it's called like Golden Eagle or something. Another really important thing that I wish I would have learned sooner is the gauge tool. Learning about the gauge tool has been so enlightening. At first, it seems so intimidating. What is this thing? But it's really not that bad once you get to know the basics. It really comes into play when you're following patterns, especially when you're making wearables. If you want your pattern to turn out the way the designer intended it to turn out, you really want to be able to follow and match the gauge that they recommend, or to be able to meet the gauge recommended on your yarn labels. Here is an example of a mistake that I made. This is a very lovely yarn that I got from my local yarn barn, and it was originally in a hank, and I did not cake it, and so now I have this total mess of a ball of yarn. So I don't recommend doing that. I do not have a yarn swift. I know that there's ways to cake this without a yarn swift. I do have a yarn winder. I have previously used an office chair. It was my makeshift yarn swift, and it actually worked really good, but for some reason I just didn't do that. I got really excited to show somebody how to cast on, and I grabbed this yarn, and then I should have caked it. I should have caked it before I did anything with it. So don't make that mistake.
Spending the time to cake your yarn will keep you more organized. Labeling your projects with pattern, hook size, and type of yarn, using stitch markers, and keeping yarn labels for aftercare instructions are great ways to keep you organized.
And since we're here, I thought I would share just a few of the recent projects that I've made. Are you ready? I think it would be so awesome to make a bigger one, but that's one thing that I have done is spend months and months on afghans, and I've really been wanting to make some smaller projects, so I've really been focusing on that. I just made this nice baby blanket size for the tutorial, but you can make this blanket any size, and so if you're interested in making it, check out my link below. And of course, if you make any of my patterns, please let me know, because I just would love to know. This cardigan that I'm wearing is a pattern from Crochet in a Day by Angie Bivens. And the yarn that I used is a 30% wool, 70% acrylic, Yarnelia Fluffy in the light pumpkin pie. So this was a really fun pattern. It worked up really fast, and I've been trying to expand my horizons with yarn. I have been branching out into some wool yarns and wool acrylic blends. As far as wool yarns go, I know that they can be very expensive. So I am still on the budget-friendly side of wool just because I'm not sure about it. I haven't used very much of it. So I bought a few different types recently. I will show you those. I'm just gonna put them on the screen here so that you can see the brands. in case you're looking for something along the lines of more budget friendly wool. I know that there's some really beautiful hand spun and hand dyed wools out there that I would love to get into. I'm just not there yet, but it's definitely a goal. This is another Angie Bivens crochet in a day pattern. It worked up super fast. I remember that the color of the yarn is called Root Bear, which goes right along with the colors of the year. So I hope you learned something today from all of the mistakes that I've made. There were quite a few, but that's life and we learn along the way. That's how we learn sometimes, is by making mistakes, and hopefully they stick and we learn from them and we move on. Remember that every stitch is a stitch towards something amazing. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will catch you next time.